We are on the record in the 13th Judicial District, the District Court of Greenwood County, Kansas. We'll take up the McGuire case, that is 2019 CR 228, State of Kansas versus Rodney Lee McGuire. County Attorney Jill Gillette for the state. Mr. McGuire appears in person and with counsel Richard Paul. Any announcements at this time as this matter does come on for revocation?
Your Honor, after speaking with Mr. McGuire would admit to the violations set out in the motion to revoke probation, forego his evidentiary hearing, and proceed to disposition, all with explanation, Your Honor.
Very well. Mr. McGuire, you do wish to waive your right to contest the allegations of violation and stipulate that you have violated?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And is anyone making you do that?
No, ma'am.
All right. I will find that you are in violation of your probation. Ms. Gillette, do you have any recommendations for violations?
Judge, we switched him from non-reporting to reporting probation. That was announced. He was placed on 5 months of reporting probation on 9/28/21. He just keeps kind of walking off and disappearing. I would note for the court, he has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failures to appear. He's had a call in also, but never showed up. So if you count that one, we're on 6 failures to appear throughout this court case. I have done his jail credit up to 9/19/23 when we had his first appearance here. He's had 21 days in because he's been in and out so much on warrants. He should know he's supposed to be reporting in to Miss Seeley and to his court services officers. This is not his first time being here. It's just numerous continues to not be here. He's always over at Crawford County. He's supposed to be having stuff over there. He just, every time he's in, he's like, oh, I'm making a payment. I'm going to pay it off. Well, it's not just paying it off. It's also not reporting and not doing everything else that he's supposed to do. And it's continually the same thing. So he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 warrants or times that he's been in custody. Most of them were immediate bond outs, but I've got his 21 days down as of the other day when you let him out.
21 days out of 120.
Yep.
This isn't the gentleman with congestive heart failure, is it?
It is.
That we had
It is.
last week. Well, at least
It is.
it's out.
But we've been dealing with it since the inception of this case. And he gets out and he's not doing anything he's supposed to be doing. You would think that he would pay attention to his medical. If he's not wanting to have to come back, then he should be reporting in routinely instead of just walking away every time.
All right. So your recommendation is that he be revoked and serve the balance of the 120?
Judge, I don't know what else to do with him. I don't know that probation wants him back because he keeps just walking away. And then he always uses the excuse that he's confused. He uses the excuse of his heart. He uses the excuse of something else. And we end up right back here. Oh, I'm going to pay it all off when I get out this time. Still no payment. Some family member paid $100 one time. It's just complete non-compliance at this point.
So the balance is $399, but apparently his sister gave a bondsman a chunk of money but didn't pay off the case. Is that right, Mr. Paul? He told us at the last hearing, that his sister was in corrections and she was going to bond him out.
Judge, that may be the case. I did not explore that with Mr. McGuire. I would tell the court that right now he is on probation in Pittsburgh. He lives in Pittsburgh. He can't physically get to Greenwood County. That has been his major problem, is that just the transportation. Judge, what I would ask you to do is not outright revoke him. Count his 21 days as a sanction. See if we can transfer his probation to Pittsburgh, because from what I've been told, Mr. McGuire has been reporting in Pittsburgh because it's right there where he lives. The time, the travel distance and the time is what is basically causing Mr. McGuire to fail, Your Honor. So that's what I would ask the court to do at this time.
I think that excuse of travel worked better before we started doing Zoom conferences. I don't.
Well, I believe Mr. McGuire was required at some point to come in and see them, and that was part of his revocation. Now, Ms. Morgan may have a different story, but that is what I was been told by Mr. McGuire. Obviously, he has good internet, good connection, has an email address that works, and can participate by Zoom. So I personally do not know how many times these were in person versus Zoom. I do not have that information for you, Judge, but you know, that is, you know, at the outset, I said we would admit with explanation, and that's what it is, Your Honor.
All right. Of course, with the nature of this being a marijuana case, they may have needed him to come in for UAs. Ms. Morgan, have you anything to say on that issue, whether it was in person or Zoom?
After reviewing the case, Your Honor, it looks like on 9/28 of 2021, he contacted Miss Seeley, and then after that, there was no contact. She contacted him on 10/26 of 21, no answer. She spoke with somebody, but he never called her back. On 12/6 of 2021, she sent him a text message and a letter, no response. And then December 21st of 2021, she sent an email with no response. So I think Miss Seeley did everything to try to contact him in regards to I guess Zoom or in person. There was nothing because he did not respond after the first contact being placed on probation.
He's been noted at all of his court hearings to contact his probation officers multiple times. Most of his hearings that he's failed to appear for have all been by Zoom, and he can't even come to court by Zoom, and has had 6 bench warrants due to failures to appear for court that is by Zoom. So he can't even follow the court's orders to be here by Zoom.
And I believe he's looking at a felony down there in Pittsburgh or Crawford County that maybe keeps his attention a little more. Am I remembering that correctly? That's a felony down there that he's on probation for? Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
McGuire, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think it was something to do with meth. Am I remembering it correctly?
Yeah, my first ever charge, my first ever felony.
Your Honor, if I may, it does look like his case has been sent to collections at this time also.
I think so. All right, well, I've heard the state's recommendation is to outright revoke him and have him serve the balance of the 120 days, which, what is that, about 99 days left? The defendant's recommendation is to give him a credit as a sanction for the 21 days he served, 20 or 21 days, and then put him back on probation, transfer it to Pittsburgh. But the problem we do have, on one hand, when he was in the jail, he had to be taken, didn't you have to go to the hospital twice for your congestive heart failure? And what
Yes,
did
ma'am.
they do for you at the hospital?
They gave me some pills to make me basically relax, to calm down. And they
Judge,
said I'm sorry. They said when I got there, my blood pressure and stuff and my heart rate was really high, but once I was there for about an hour, it calmed down. I think I was just stressing, but I could feel it.
Okay. Mr. Paul?
Judge, I forgot to mention this. Judge, also in the alternative, Mr. McGuire, is one of his bond conditions is on EMD. We would ask also if the court would consider house arrest.
Ms. Gillette, what would be your response to the balance of his sentence on electronic monitoring with house arrest?
I don't necessarily have an objection to that, Judge, but he can't even pay the payments in his case. How's he gonna pay the house arrest?
Excellent point.
My mom's paying it for me. It's $42 a week.
He can't even comply with Zoom court. I mean, like, it's taking how many warrants to get him to come here today? I mean, we have a failure to appear at 8/9/22, 10/25/22. Then he calls in, is supposed to be here, doesn't show up, 2/7/23. Then he shows up once, and then we have 3/7 failure to appear this year. And then we have him in custody on 9/19. And then we have him here because you basically told him if you don't show up, you're putting him back in jail and he's gonna stay there. I mean, if he would actually listen to the court, I would feel differently, but how can I trust him on house arrest when I can't even trust him to Zoom?
Typically, when they're looking at warrants to show cause, we tell them to appear in person, which apparently I didn't do for today.
No, ma'am. I have doctor's appointments and stuff coming up too. I gotta have an echo, I think it is, or an EKG to see what percentage my heart's working at, so they know if I need a defibrillator put in my chest or not.
Mr. McGuire, if you were anyone else without this story about your heart, I'll just be candid with you. You'd be in jail by now and you'd be serving the balance of your sentence.
I
Now,
understand.
I suspect you're probably kind of milking this a little bit, kind of making me feel a little concerned and making it worse. My concern is that I don't want to see the taxpayers pay for thousands of dollars of medical treatment for you. And I think that that's pretty apparent. And maybe that shouldn't even fit into my considerations. I do have some concern for you also as a human being with medical needs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You put me in a very difficult spot because I agree with Ms. Gillette. I'm outraged that you failed to come to Zoom court so many times, and that it's no wonder you don't go to probation when you can't even make it to court.
It would be so much easier for me if my probation was here, because I don't miss seeing
How
Beth.
can it be any easier than flipping on a camera and coming to court?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Transfer if he would have kept reporting into Carrie. He didn't even transfer his probation with Carrie. He only talked to her at the court and never again. If he'd have been up here and asked to be transferred to Pittsburgh, we were allowing him to be transferred to Pittsburgh. I know I dang sure said that at least one of his hearings.
That's
And he
right.
do it. He talked to her only on the court day. That's it.
Did I hear someone say you're on electronic monitoring for Pittsburgh or for Crawford?
Yes, you guys put a GPS location
No,
monitor on the ankle.
It's for us.
Greenwood, for
Oh,
Greenwood.
Greenwood.
So you're already on the electronic monitoring per my order the other day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Your probation is revoked. You are ordered to be locked up in your house for the balance of your sentence. You're not allowed to leave for any reason except your appointments with your probation in Pittsburgh. And you have to go directly to and directly home.
Okay,
And you will be only allowed to go to medical appointments that you can prove that you're going to, that you're not
Mhm.
just, using excuses. And you're gonna have to prove that you went to and back. Don't stop at the convenience store and have a Coke or any of that stuff.
okay,
And I'm only gonna do this provided that you comply with each and every condition of your probation there.
yes,
If you
ma'am.
violate this in any way, shape, or form, Mr. McGuire, I will remove the probation for the final time. You will serve the balance in the county jail of Greenwood County.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not happy with making this decision. I think you should serve your sentence if anyone ever should. But I've expressed my reasons for hesitating. And I'm not happy about having to hesitate. Maybe your heart wouldn't be in the condition it's in. I don't know. But before the controlled substances, the marijuana, the methamphetamine, which as I recall, that was a distribution of meth, wasn't it?
No, ma'am.
It was possession.
Yeah, it was just residue in a baggie.
Why a guy with heart conditions is running around taking meth and
It
marijuana?
actually,
You don't
was a
have to
little bit
explain it.
too.
You don't have to explain it. I'm not going to probably buy it if you do.
Yes, ma'am.
You're in good standing in probation on your probation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
In Pittsburgh, I mean.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's
Judge,
my-
we appreciate your leniency.
Well, I don't feel good about it, but thank you, Mr. Paul, for saying that.
We understand your hesitation, Judge, but
All right.
we appreciate it.
All right, Ms. Gillette, make sure your counterpart down there in Crawford knows that I want to know if he violates them then.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further.
Thank you. We'll be in
Thank you, ma'am.
recess. You may go, sir, but not out of your house because you're in
No.
jail. Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome.